I guess I've always been vegan. I just forgot it for a while.
I pulled this very quick clip from this episode's guest, Amy, to kick off the episode because I felt this too. And I was wondering how many other vegans have had a similar experience. For me, as I moved through my life and then looked back on all of those seeds, essentially, that had been planted, and then I embarked on my vegetarian journey and then my vegan journey, I continually felt more like me, like the person I was meant to fully be. And that felt not just like I've become this, but as if I remembered it. Because I always knew, without knowing, exactly who I was meant to be. And going through this process of learning about animals and the way humans treat them and uncovering you could be this thing called vegetarian and then learning about veganism, it all brought me there. And it brought me back to that remembering. So if you're listening on Spotify and you want to leave a comment, there's an option to do that in the Spotify app. I would love to hear if you have this same feeling. Does this resonate with you? Do you feel like you've remembered your veganism? And if you don't want to leave a comment there, or you're listening to this anywhere else, head over to my Instagram and comment on the post for this episode. And again, let me know, does this resonate with you? Did you feel a remembering? Are you on a journey to veganism now? And are you uncovering that same feeling? I'm so curious about this, and I think Amy would love to know too. So please definitely leave a comment and let us know. Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 139 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Today, I am joined by Coach Amy Brink-Peterson. Amy helps vegan and plant-based advocates who are feeling run down, depleted, and frustrated to access their brilliance and become influential changemakers. As a certified plant-based health coach, she supports advocates in rebuilding their health, resilience, and vitality so they can lead sustainably and thrive for the long haul. Her approach weaves together expertise in whole foods plant-based living and a transformative woman-centered coaching methodology, moving beyond behavior change to spark deep identity transformation. Amy is passionate about helping others treat their health as the foundation it truly is, not just for personal well-being, but for lasting impact in the world. Amy is insightful, honest, and just all around lovely. Hey, Amy, welcome. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Oh, thanks, Kimberly. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. So let's just jump right in. Tell me about your vegan journey.
Yeah, it's funny because somebody the other day asked me, how long have you been vegan? Or when did you become vegan? And then I realized in responding to her, I thought, I guess I've always been vegan. I just forgot it for a while.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And in many ways, I believe that we're all born vegan in the sense of that we're all born with this innate capacity to love others, to love animals, appreciation for them. And then through our conditioning and culture, we kind of unlearn that, or other things come on top of that.
Yeah.
so looking back, I think I was always that was always in there, and it's at some point, that was always there. Just that it got covered up for a while. But it was when it was able to come to the surface more clearly, was about 5 years ago. It was just before Easter 5 years ago, and I was a new mom, and a lot of changes were happening. We were in the middle of COVID, so I was in quite a transformational period already, with jobs shifting, and I think it was really becoming a mom that was really the catalyst I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And what really the last drop, or the last thing I needed to hear, was I listened to an interview with Rowena van Voorst. She's a Dutch anthropologist, and she wrote a book about veganism, called Once Upon a Time We Ate Animals. And it was an interview about her book. And I knew that if I listened to the interview, that something would shift. Mm. It was I had this sense of, I'm going to open this gateway if I listen to this. But I listened anyway. And an hour later, it was the last thing I needed to hear. It was the final drop. And what especially got to me was about dairy. Mm-hmm. That was really what broke the trance for me, was dairy. It was just having been, I was a new mom. My daughter was about 6 months old. Sorry. And I just, I had gone through breastfeeding. Sometimes it was wonderful. Sometimes it was awful. And realizing how much energy that takes, for one, but then also realizing, gosh, my worst nightmare is that somebody would take my child away or harm her in any way. And when I was able to make the connection with, oh my gosh, dairy means, forced pregnancies, babies born, babies taken away. Mm-hmm. And then both of them are used. Their bodies are used. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it anymore once I really made that connection, as from a mother to another mother. That was really the part that was the trance breaker for me. So, and that was just, so I'm so grateful that my daughter came along and helped me to realize that. So that was really the thing. And I didn't realize at the time that it was going to open up such a new path of development for me. That going vegan is not just, a black or white thing. It's really a journey. Mm-hmm. And I took quite a significant step at that moment on this journey. And boy, I'm glad I did. I mean, it was tough at the time. It was really quite an emotional moment. Mm. I refer to it kind of as I stepped out of the matrix. Yeah. You suddenly see things you didn't see before. You realize that certain things are happening that are pretty awful. And at the same time, it's a huge gift, mm-hmm. because once you're more conscious about these things, then you can, with the right support and with the right, I guess support is really the right word. With the right support, you can move through that. You can move through that transformation and all the different emotions that come up. Mm-hmm. And then you come out stronger on the other end and able to help in a way, instead of participating blindly in a system that is so oppressive and abusive. You can actually do something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love so much about your story, and especially where I can relate. And I was feeling like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like, it did feel like a remembering of sorts. Yeah. When I look back at my life, I see all the little things that were like, oh yeah, of course I was destined to be vegan. Look at this, look at how I interacted this way. But I started as a vegetarian, and that happened in 2001. I got an issue of PETA's Animal Times in the mail, and I don't know why it came to me. It was addressed to me. I don't recall for the life of me filling out anything, but for whatever reason, I got this magazine, and kind of like the thought that you had before listening to that interview, I knew if I read this, my life is going to change.
Yeah.
And it did. And, I only look back and think, why didn't I go vegan then? Because the story that struck me and made that change was about a downed cow. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So I was like, how did I not? But anyway, I made it there and, am vegan now and have been for almost 11 years. So, I found my way to like what I see as the ultimate goal in the path of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, and I've spoken to so many women. I don't have children, so I haven't had that experience. But I've spoken to so many women where that was the catalyst. They were like, oh my goodness, the
Yeah.
connection to like what we experience, that fear around our children, like the thought of, like you said, someone just coming and taking your baby away. Like, what?
Yeah.
And that's happening like every day, multiple times a day around the world on these different dairy farms.
Yeah.
That's like thousands and so much grief. And, if you've seen the videos, and not just you, like the listeners too, if you've seen the videos of a mother cow whose baby has been taken, and
Yeah.
the deep grief, the bellows that come from her are so painful, whether you've had a child or not. You can
Yeah.
feel that sadness, and it's palpable. It's horrific.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you named that because, and indeed, you don't have to be a mother or a parent to understand that pain or to
Mhm.
recognize it that they are in pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken to. It's funny that you mentioned, yeah. So a lot of people that I've met more and more mothers who've now that was the catalyst that they needed to go vegan.
Hmm.
Was becoming a mother. At the same time, I've also met many other people who aren't parents who have that has also been their catalyst is making that connection. Yeah, I remember another coach that I know, for example, she mentioned coming across the kind of like how you have those maybe advertisements like where somebody's missing, you may say keep an eye out for this person who's this child who's missing.
Hmm.
She saw a poster hung up like that but about a calf,
Oh,
and that
wow.
was her catalyst. Yeah, to
Yeah.
I was, and she just so she could connect like, oh my goodness, this calf is missing, where's my calf? And it's just so you absolutely do not have to be a parent or a mother to feel that.
Hmm.
And I think it's really brave when we allow ourselves to connect with that, because it can be really
Yeah.
scary to connect with feelings and emotions in general,
Right.
our own or others, right? But I think yeah, what a courage it takes to allow yourself to feel that
Hmm.
and allow yourself to be moved by it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's something we don't maybe talk about enough when you look kind of out at the advertisements or the things that the general public might see about veganism. It's so much about, well, you just decide to eat this instead of that, and you buy this product instead of that product. And it does feel sanitized, I guess, in a way where there isn't a recognition of all of the emotion that we go through. It truly is, as you said, a transformation. We're having this realization. So now, like in my journey, there was guilt. That night after I read that magazine, I was up physically sick all night because I was thinking about all of the animals whom I had eaten every day for my whole life. It was so rare to have a meal that was just like pasta and marinara sauce. It was always like pasta with meat sauce, like it wasn't even, it was so often that there wasn't that there were animal products in everything I ate. And so I felt this intense guilt. And then I moved beyond that because now it's kind of, you work through, okay, well, I didn't know. And now I know, and I can make a change and do something different. And now you have to face the emotions of knowing what the animals go through and
yeah,
dealing with that, having to process that, right? And so we are going through, it's so much more than just making a choice of, well, I'm going to eat this instead of that. And while that is a significant and important piece, I love the
yeah,
work that you do and that you are addressing these emotions. You're turning inward, as you said in our initial chat, where we're taking veganism and we're looking inside and how we are working through and processing this. Can you tell me and the listeners a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yes, yes. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, it's funny because my mentor, vegan psychologist Claire Mann, she's the one who taught me a definition of veganism that I absolutely love, and that is it's a practice of loving kindness, towards yourself, towards other beings, and towards ecosystems. And I just love that definition because, indeed, like you say, it's not about, so then the choices you make are really a consequence of something much bigger.
Yeah.
So what you decide to buy at the supermarket is a consequence of that practice of loving kindness. It's not about the food. It's about this much deeper sense of how we are in the world, and how we brilliantly and imperfectly express this loving kindness. And yes, and then I realized, wow, that's what my work is. It's about that first part. It's about that turning that loving kindness towards yourself. Because what I notice I work with vegan and plant-based advocates who are really struggling with their energy and their well-being. And what I'm really noticing is that a lot of advocates really, we might think about those we're trying to help or our mission, really focused on serving outwardly. And we might tend to forget that first part of veganism, which is turning it towards yourself, expressing that loving kindness towards yourself, because that, including yourself in that practice. And so it's really not a luxury or a nice to have. It's essential. So my work is really focused on how can you, building that foundation from which you can then be of service to others. And that foundation is in the most holistic sense. So sometimes it can be physical wellness. Sometimes it can be mental wellness. It can also be wellness is much broader. It can be your relationships or your home environment or your financial wellness. And all of these things interplay with each other. And usually we start in one area and discover that there's another area that's connected to that. That's not just about, maybe getting to bed on time, but there's something else going on. It's really this interplay of all these different parts. And in the end, what almost always comes up are these, I'll call it like this kind of invisible architecture that we are living in. So that's built up of, assumptions we carry around, beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about others, also the unspoken cultural agreements that we're navigating through. So, for example, especially I work, I'm learning to work more and more with women through a new training I'm doing. And it's especially for women, there are so many unspoken cultural agreements, that we are trying to navigate, and we're responding to those. So, and for men as well. So it's really, how do you recognize that architecture, that's those kind of unconscious ways of being, and how can you first recognize that, and then move to a deeper truth from which you can actually create something much more meaningful. You can move beyond those limiting beliefs or those ways you've been operating that might be limiting your capability to take care of yourself and take care of your mission. Yeah. So it's really about, it's going much deeper than just behavior change or tips and tricks of like what to eat or those kinds of things. Nutrition is extremely important, but it's really like, for example, if someone's carrying around the belief that their needs don't matter as much as someone else's needs, it sounds really silly to say it out loud, but you would be surprised how many people I've met that somehow at some level believe this unconsciously, that the needs of the other are more important. You can try all the behavior change tricks you want, but if that belief remains operational and unseen, then it's really hard to shift into a sustainable way of living. So it's really about recognizing those much deeper unspoken things, bringing those to light.
Yeah. Even thinking about, like most of my journey has been so much focused on, as long as I'm not harming the animals, let me keep learning about ways to take more and more, because like animal products are everywhere. The way animals are used is everywhere. And so we look at all the things we do in our life and we make different choices. And so I've been so focused on how am I helping the animals that I was just like, I didn't think about changing how I cared for myself. And it kind of, my attitude around like food was always like, as long as it's vegan, I'm fine. Like I wasn't concerned about
Yeah.
health. As far as like doing like physical activities, taking care of my physical health, it was like, I don't have time. I'm busy doing things, for the animals. And same thing with like, I had a meditation practice, but I would find that when I was very focused on like work for the animals, then I would let that go too. And I
Yeah.
think kind of what you said there is that I had this belief that the most important thing is the animals. And I'm here, I'm doing the thing, but like never turned any care to myself, like truly.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally doing that where I am making sure that I am nourished in all the ways so that I can better serve those who I'm here to serve.
Oh, fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that you're making that shift. It's so important. I mean, I learned that the hard way. It's like kind of, it sounds like you did as well. It's really, it's not something, and I see this with a lot of advocates and change makers that we're so focused on what it is we're doing outwardly. And what I'm also noticing is, when we're operating from these, let's say, limiting beliefs, or, this hidden architecture that might be driving some of our behaviors, yes, we may be working in animal rights, we might be running a plant-based business or whatever we're doing. But so the content might be helpful, but it's not in the long run. It's not sustainable
Mm.
because we're going to hit a wall at a certain point. We're gonna have friction in our relationships. We're going to have, we're going to meet challenges, and especially because we're really pioneers,
Mm.
right? So we're
Yeah.
really going against the status quo. So it's already, challenging enough,
Mm-hmm.
to be different,
Yeah.
to take, again, I think that takes quite some courage, to say, I'm not going to go with what the majority says is normal. I'm not going to, it really, I know actually what I realize the more and more I'm doing this work and in my own journey, um, both going vegan and health challenges, I really believe are an invitation to take a step in consciousness with
Mm.
ourselves. So it's really an invitation to deepen our levels of awareness. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that for me, I had my own health crisis a few years ago. I really hit a wall. I suffered a really extreme burnout,
Mm.
and it took me about 3 years to really recover.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, later on, I did learn, yeah, when you hit that point of a burnout like that, it takes on average about 1 to 3 years to really be symptom free, to
Mm.
really recover. There are changes to your brain and the way you respond to stress. Like it's really, it's quite a thing. So with this kind of thing, prevention is really key. But and at the time it was terrible when that happens. At the same time, looking back on it, I'm really glad it happened because it really prepared me to do this work I'm doing now.
Mm.
Because I needed to go through those steps of development with myself first, to look inward and to learn how to apply that loving kindness towards myself first.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and then I could feel and live that experience of how essential that is. And that's what led me to this work as well. Realizing like,
Mhm.
wow, well, there's an opportunity here. It's not just about getting better and getting back to the old way of doing things, because the old way of doing things is what got me there in the first place.
Yeah.
I can't return to the old way of doing things, right? That doesn't work. So yes, I really needed to look inward. And one of the people who helped me the most at the time was a fabulous coach. She was really great at helping me to look at those layers that I didn't yet see,
Mm.
and to bring those into light. And it was amazing once I could see the patterns that I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wow, oh, this keeps happening over and over again. Oh, okay. hmm, that's quite an energy leak. Okay, well, my goodness, what am I going to do about it? So now that I see it, what am I going to do about it? And that's when the work begins. And that's what you come into this kind of messy middle, right? Of when you see what's happening and then you start to really shift your behavior in ways that
Mm.
are more sustainable. And that's what having a coach, I think, can be really supportive because then you have somebody with you along the way,
Yeah.
first to help you see it and then to help you, go through that jungle of
Hmm.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For someone who is maybe wants to kind of dig in a little bit first before they look for that coach that will guide them through, do you have any suggestions on how someone could start to observe those patterns? Like, what have you found in your work that seems to be the most helpful for people to initially start to uncover those patterns?
Oh, good question. Yeah. A coach is, of course, specially trained, to do something like that.
Hmm.
So they help you. It's really hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. So it's a coach is really good about
I
reading the
love
label. And
that.
yeah, it's true. But if you're not with a coach yet, or it's something you don't want to do at this moment, or if you don't, whatever, for whatever reason, um, then there are ways. I think journaling can be really helpful. First of all, that's the practice of itself can be extremely soothing and
Hmm.
therapeutic. And the cool thing is then you can go look back and you can start to notice things. So if you refer back to what you wrote a month ago, you say, okay, so I'm noticing patterns here. That can really, really help. Also, just speaking about it, I think finding about, of course, it's not the same as a coach. Of course, a friend or a family member who's willing to listen, but
Hmm.
just being able to express what you're going through to another person who is there in a loving presence, right? Who just really listens.
Yeah.
And that person might not, have the training of a coach, or that capability to really, go in more depth in that sense, or ask certain questions, or really challenge you on certain things.
Hmm.
However, simply the fact of being witnessed by someone else is huge.
Yeah.
That in itself is transformational. That you can be seen and witnessed in whatever it is you're feeling and whatever your needs might be. And you can also learn to do that for yourself as well. So to really I think recognizing feelings and needs, that's one of the biggest areas of skill development that I see with people that I work with, is to really be able to name what you're feeling
Hmm.
and name the need underneath that as well. So
Oh, yeah.
so really just to make a practice of when something, comes up, whatever it might be, try to name whatever that emotion is.
Mm.
I'm feeling frustrated, and you don't have to make it super complicated. It could just keep, I'm just feeling out of sorts, could also be fine. That's also great. But but just to name it, and naming it already also helps to somehow transform and soften it. So
Oh,
that's a really simple thing, that I noticed that, yeah, it's something that I do as well with myself regularly, just to really name what I'm feeling. Yeah.
hmm, that's awesome. How does someone, so as a coach and then as someone who has had coaches, um, what's like something that people could look for when they're looking for a coach? Like, how do you know, okay, this is the person for me?
Oh, good question. Yeah, because there are a lot of coaches out there, and coaching is not let's say, like a protected title, like a dietitian or a
Mm.
therapist or somebody like that who has to meet. They have to have certain maybe degrees or meet certain requirements in order to, have that title. Pretty much anyone can call themselves a coach. So, which is on the one hand freeing, and allows us access to, to start doing work, meaningful work right away. On the other hand, it can also mean that there might be people out there calling themselves coach. They
Yeah.
maybe not be that. Who knows? So it's, yeah, how do you differentiate with that? I think I think there are several ways. Um, I think maybe here one of the maybe the best ways is to find, if somebody else has a really good experience with someone, that's probably somebody that you know and trust. That's a really great way to find someone. Sometimes you can look for certain types of certifications if something's really important to you. So, for example, I have a certification from Food Revolution Network, which means I'm trained in coaching, but also in plant-based nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this kind of if somebody has questions about that area, it depends on the area of coaching you're looking for,
Yeah.
to see, to what extent does that person have some kind of a background or training in the area that your challenges are in or that you want to work on. I'm also doing a new certification right now at the Institute for Women-Centered Coaching. So that's really a much more, actually more extensive training, and specializing in supporting women in their transformation. So you can kind of look at to see the qualifications. But I think the most important is really to just have an experience with somebody, because even if the person, somebody else really loved them,
Mm-hmm.
they seem to have some good qualifications. Or they might be, members of a certain, coach organization, they might have certain labels or things on their website. It's really, in the end, about is the relationship a right fit for you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's to get to know them. So, and it's because coaching is a relationship, is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you just give it a try and see how it works. And I think most coaches, I do this for sure, but I think most coaches do free initial calls, or kind of get to know you sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and you can absolutely, I think that in that way you can know and feel like this feels good.
Yeah.
So there's a click, there's a personal connection here that feels right. I think that's probably the most important, actually, because even if somebody is highly qualified, if it doesn't feel right, then yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So in your coaching, you also talked about, when we met previously, about this idea of aligning your health and your wellness with your impact.
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yes, that's a great question. That's what my work is centered around. So it's really about, again, what we talked about before, turning that veganism inward first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about, it can kind of feel counterintuitive, but it's really important to, when you, to slow down first and to really look at what is it that you need and what are you feeling, right? Because so first of all, we need to have a certain foundation in our wellness and health to be able to do anything, to function at all. So it's really, viewing yourself, including yourself in that practice of loving kindness. And it depends on where somebody's starting. So what the specific challenges might be. But really being willing to take a good look at, okay, what might be happening? What's the pain here? And, for example, I've also, some of the clients I've worked with have come to realize that they're taking on too much sometimes, or maybe they're doing a certain type of activism or work that really doesn't align with their needs at this chapter in their life, for example. So it could be that it's also about, what fits you right now.
Yeah.
So, and our lives change, for example, if you do become a parent, what a shift, right? That's a huge change. So it could be that what you did, a couple of years ago, maybe that's not the same fit as now, because you have a new, a little person in your life that you're also taking care of, and your own needs have shifted. And to really, I also like that there are different types of ways we can make impact. So not everybody is out there on the streets, holding signs or showing videos, things like that. There are so many ways to create impact.
Yeah.
And I think it's really great that we all are so diverse in that sense, that there are different ways. So it's also about finding a way there in which you feel, maybe even joyful is the right word.
Yeah.
Right? Like follow the joy, follow the thing that lights you up. And if you love being out on the streets and, holding up signs, awesome. For some people, that's really not their thing. Like that's, that can be quite an energy, can be quite taxing for them. Yeah. Maybe they're much better suited to lead, a cooking workshop, or maybe they are a writer, or maybe they want to volunteer at a sanctuary, whatever that is. Or they want to start their own business, whatever that is. So it's about finding something that works for you, and that can change and shift over time.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, because, even though I went vegetarian back in 2001, I did attend like protests and would be out there in the street holding signs and doing those types of things. my journey has shifted, but I know that there are people who have been like, well, this is just, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's what I know. It's where my experience is. And I feel like I'm failing if I do something else. Or the
Yeah.
group would be like, what do you mean you're going to leave and now you're going to try, writing a book about this? Like, you think that's going to be as impactful as like what we're doing here? So it's like a
Yeah.
mix of, will I still be serving the mission that I'm here to serve if I shift? And will people still respect me or hear me or see me as just as impactful doing this new thing? I think there's like two things that happen, right? When we're assessing, is this still the right thing for me? And I love that you were like, just focus on the joy and do that thing. Because I think, and I think that's what you're saying too, is that that's where we're always going to have the most impact, is when we are showing up from that place of joy. And I'm so happy to be here and doing this. And we take the experience that we had doing the other thing along with us. And so I feel like we're never truly abandoning how we were fulfilling the mission before when we shift to fulfilling it in a new way.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because it's really, to really follow that joy. And it's kind of funny almost kind of strange to think about in the context that we're working in, of like, wow, all of the suffering and all of the oppression, it's very overwhelming. How can I find joy in that?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is a certain, joy in knowing that you are, you're doing something in being in alignment. Let me put it that way. I think it's about being in alignment, and then being able to express, your power as as you are at this moment, in a way that can create impact. And it's funny because we don't always know the total impact that we make.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, again, my mentor Claire Mann talks about planting seeds often. So we don't always get to see the plant that might come from the seed, but all of the little things we do, and it's often in the little conversations we have with people. You don't necessarily have to even have a formal role as an activist or make your work out of it. It's also about at the water cooler at work, how do you respond to your colleague, right? who makes a bacon joke or whatever it is. Like, it's just those little moments, and those can be incredibly powerful. And when I look back at my own journey, I realized there were certain key moments where I felt a kind of, where the cognitive dissonance kind of came to the surface, or somebody said something to me. I saw Jane Goodall speak once a few years ago. She was incredible. She was still speaking and going around up until the very end, pretty much. And I just, even there was something she said that, I wasn't, going vegan at the time, but there were certain things she said that really hit me and landed with me. And those seeds, came out later. And I think I think we're often more powerful than we realize.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot more impact than we realize, and that the small things we do, the conversations we have, the small choices we make about what to buy or what not, but those all add up. And that's why it's so important, to really take care of ourselves, so that we are in a place where we can, from a place of loving kindness, respond, to those opportunities which present themselves pretty much every day, I would say, for most of us.
Yeah, they do.
Right? Like, you're going to be confronted with it anyway. So, let's resource ourselves. Let's create that strong foundation that we are able then to respond from a better place, or able to respond from the adult part of ourselves that, can show compassion to somebody who might be making that joke, or who might not yet understand, and to have capacity to hold that. That's really key. When we're responding from an unresourced place, from our own pain, from our own our limiting beliefs and patterns, we're not able to actually create that difference.
Yeah,
we're just responding from pain, really. So, so we really need to take care of that first.
Yeah. I love it. I love that it's, I love when I hear from someone like, I don't want to be an activist. Like, I'm doing this because I believe it's the right thing to do, because I don't want to be contributing to the suffering of the animals and the planet and the people who are in these systems. And that's enough for me. I'm not going to be an activist. And I love it because I'm always like, but you are, whether you
Yes.
want to be or not,
That's
because
true.
like you were
Yeah.
saying, people are going to say, even if this person never once comes out and initially says, I'm vegan, somebody is going to see what you're eating, or like they'll be at your house and they'll see a product they've never seen before. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And so you have a conversation. They're going to ask you questions. And whether you like it or not, when you answer them, you are planting seeds.
Yes.
And yeah. And so it's like you don't have to be an activist to be spreading the message, as it were, and making an impact every single time someone talks with you. And I love that it can be this huge, big thing, like me having a platform where we talk about veganism, and you leading a coaching business, and you helping individuals and people move through this process. And it can be so small that you feel like people don't even notice. But
Yes.
you're doing it, and it's like we're hitting it from all those different ways, and we're getting to people from where they're most likely to respond to. Because
Yes.
like not everyone is going to see someone out on the street and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. I should make a change immediately." Like some people will see that and go, "I don't think so." And they're not even wall up, not
Yeah.
even going to entertain it. But then they come across something that you're offering and they go, "Huh, I kind of like this loving kindness thing. Like, what is
Yeah.
that about?"
Yeah.
And or they listen to podcasts and they're like, hummus, okay, and it like so we we bring them in from all these different ways, and we can get someone where they need it. Like I needed a magazine to kick off
Yeah.
my true path. You needed that interview to help you shift. And
Yeah.
so it's like these little moments that they make such a significant impact. And we will likely never see it. Every person who listens to the podcast who makes a change and goes vegan, they're not all going to reach out and be like, Kimberly, it was you. You did this. You
That's true.
helped me,
Yeah.
and I'm good with that. I don't need to know that. I just need to know that there's the possibility that it's happening.
Yes. I love what you're saying because you're speaking to a kind of, I'll call it trust,
Mm,
like leaning into, and that's something that is really key as well. I think it's important to mention, and you're touching upon it as you're speaking, is really leaning into, I'll call it like trusting the universe,
mm,
and
yeah.
I think it's really important. And whatever you want to call it, some people call it God or universe or sense of wonder, whatever that is. And because there's this often when we're living from this place of I need to do it all on my own, or this place of lack, right?
Mm,
There's not enough time, there's not enough resources, there aren't enough people going vegan, like all this. So there's always like there's a lack, right?
yeah.
That indicates to me a disconnect from this, I'll call it an intelligence that's greater than our own minds. There's so much happening around us. Even just look outside at nature. I mean, the flowers are going to bloom without your effort,
Yeah.
right? So there's so much happening around us that is bigger than us. We are part of something much bigger, and really leaning into that and seeing ourselves more as part of this bigger intelligence and as instruments in some
Mm-hmm.
ways of
Yeah.
this bigger thing that's happening. And so, yeah, and you're just when you're talking about being okay with planting a seed, or you don't have to see the end result. There's a kind of trust there that what you're doing is enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that this person will find it in their own time.
Yeah.
They're on their own journey, and there's something happening that's beyond our own minds, and
Yeah.
it's so freeing to really lean into that. And it's something I notice in almost every single person I work with, that this is an area of development, is there's this sense of lack. of not enough, whatever that is,
Mhm.
right? And then not enough money, not enough time. So it's really, yeah, it's about connecting with that higher intelligence, or that greater intelligence that is, and I think it's even not necessarily, what your exact beliefs are around that, because people are going to have different ways of expressing that, or different
Mhm.
names for it. But just the fact that, if believing in it, like believing in that there is something bigger happening around us, the belief itself is powerful. So
Yeah.
whether it's true or not, maybe it doesn't even matter. It's
Mhm.
more about, when you lean into that, your way of being shifts, and you're able to access more creativity. You're able to take better care of yourself. Yeah, to let go of what you can't control.
Mm, that's a
Yeah,
big one.
that's a big one. Yeah, trying to control the uncontrollable. That's probably the source of most of our suffering, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the things we can't control in life, so very few things we can control. But yeah, so I'm really glad that you're speaking. Actually, I mean, that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying, is this sense of trust, of letting go, and of trust,
Mhm.
and of that we're part of something bigger than just
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It can feel small. Like you said, it can feel very much like, oh, people aren't going vegan fast enough. There aren't enough of us, because we are such a small population around the world. But we are around the world. It's not just this like tiny group in one place around the planet. We are everywhere, and we do continue to pop up and plant
Yeah.
those seeds. And we now, technology, certainly I think has moved us forward in some ways. Certain aspects of it have pushed us back, changed the way we interact with each other for the good and the bad, I think. But it does give us the ability. I mean, like, look at you and me here now. I'm in New Jersey. You're in the Netherlands. Like,
Yeah.
we're able to have a real conversation. And that's because of the ability to reach each other through technology. And so when we can leverage that too, I think it shows us, okay, we're not alone. And
Yes.
that can be tough, because I know so many vegans. I'm lucky enough to not be the only vegan in my family. My husband and my mom both went vegan after me. And so I have two people who are very close to me, one whom I live with, where we are living in the same values, making the same choices around, how we show up in very meaningful ways. But I know not everyone has that. And I know there are
Yeah.
people who've been vegan for more than 20, 30 years whose partner still has not joined them in that journey. And I know that people can feel alone. But
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Thank you for naming that. That's something that comes up so much, that feeling of being alone, that feeling of isolation. I definitely felt that in the beginning 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when I first decided to go vegan, or return to being vegan, I'll say.
Yeah.
Return to the way it was born. So it was so, yeah, I felt very isolated in the beginning, because indeed wow, gosh, like and nobody in my family was practicing it in that way. I didn't have any friends. I had one friend from high school. I thought, I think she was vegan. And I guess I sent her a message on Facebook. I'm like, help. And she was so kind we had a call together, and she was really lovely. And she helped me find some of my first recipes. And so I'm so glad that I reached out to to
Yeah.
her. And just really, and it's funny because, in the past year or so, I've been working a lot with a vegan psychologist, Claire Mann, who's now also my mentor. And she's really helped me to reframe this in a way, because that isolation I felt in the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, it's on the one hand really important to come into contact with other vegans, right? And that I remember how empowering and incredible that was to become, and, to put myself in places where there were other people who I didn't have to explain myself to.
Mm-hmm.
I could just, there was a place that I could also relax and enjoy a bit more easily.
Yes.
That's super important. And to have a kind of an acknowledgement of like, nope, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one who's noticing these things happening. Like, who's like, why are we doing all this? And at the same time, there's, I've kind of shifted my way of thinking about what is vegan and what is not yet vegan or non-vegan. And if I think about it as a practice of loving kindness, then pretty much everyone already practices that in some way. Maybe not yet with all species, but they may practice loving kindness with their neighbor or with their children or with their dog or, the people they work with. So it's really about, so it's in that way, I find it very hopeful to look at it that way, because it's kind of like, it's not like we're trying to shift somebody completely. We're just inviting them to expand that window of loving kindness, to expand it to include more.
Yeah.
It's something they already have.
Right.
So it's something that's already there. And then in that sense, it feels like I'm actually, when I think about it that way, and I've been consciously reframing that for myself in the past year or so, I enter conversations really differently. Just with the, assuming that there is a certain level of loving kindness already present in this other person, and trying to connect with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a really different conversation.
Yeah.
So it's not about like me having to defend myself or having to prove something. I'm speaking to that part of them.
Mm-hmm.
And making, inviting them to just expand that a little bit more, if that's what the context is about. And then I'm really surprised sometimes how close some people are to including, let's say, all species.
Yeah.
So it's really surprising. I mean, it's really, I've been surprised multiple times how close somebody is. And whereas before I had no idea. And I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And it might still be a while before they put that into practice, or they change behaviors. But I'm almost always surprised when I enter a conversation like that there's much more to that person and their capacity for loving kindness than when I used to have these old assumptions of that I was going to be rejected or they're not going to understand. I would enter a room. That's kind of those unconscious beliefs that I was mentioning before. I had a number of them that, I would enter a space assuming somebody was going to reject me or not understand. And of course, that completely changes your interaction with somebody if you have that assumption. Then I was guarding myself. I was kind of, I was barricaded, like I wasn't, and then it really impacted my ability to connect with the other person. And it was this feeling of being unsafe. Whereas this person had not done anything to trigger that feeling. It was really my own belief. Yeah, it was really my own assumption and belief that I was not safe as a vegan in this space, that I was going to be rejected. But then really realizing, wow, that's actually not true. I don't actually know that. And even if they do disagree, it's not because it's not personal. It's not about me.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's about them and where they're at and the seeds that maybe have not yet been planted for them. What a shift. My goodness, Amy. That's incredible because I know that I have definitely entered rooms and gone, okay, the minute they hear the V word, like it's going to be a thing, no one's just going to just take it and go. Like they're going to make a big deal out of it. And you're right. I did come in guarded, ready for a fight instead of ready for an art, like a chat or, a loving conversation. And to walk in and be like, I know that they have the capability to be loving and open. And going back to the trust thing, like maybe I just trust that it's not the same way that I am loving and open, but maybe we can find some common ground and you don't have to come in so guarded.
Yeah. And it's such a shift. And it really took me some time to make that shift. And And it was really about, I realized that that part of me that felt unsafe was really the part of me was not the adult part of me, right? So it was actually a much younger part of me, stuck in old stories, stuck in old beliefs, that has a number of assumptions. That was the part that I was reacting from. And it wasn't until I was really able to access more the adult, compassionate, resourceful part of myself that's also there, and to really bring those two parts. And it's not about that the younger part of us is bad or anything like that. But it's, the younger part of ourselves is not doesn't have the same capabilities as the adult part of ourselves.
Yeah.
So and when I was talking earlier about, being able to recognize your own feelings and needs, that comes from this adult part of yourself, right? So being able to turn towards your own self and be like, okay, what are you feeling, right? What's going on? What do you need? That's a question that comes from this, I love the work of, for example, Kristen Neff. She talks about self-compassion. This is really something this is a set of skills and capacities that we can grow and develop. And that's when you can do that with yourself, and then you're coming into a new space with another person. If you're able to, sit in that adult part of yourself that can take on whatever the situation brings, right? Then the younger part of you can sit in the safety of the older part of you. I guess you could put it that way. The younger part of you is not alone in his or her attempts to manage the situation. There's a more resourceful part of you, a more powerful part of you that can take it on.
Yeah.
And then you're really able to connect. Yeah, it's really, I don't know if I'm not being clear enough for all the listeners in explaining this, but it's really a shift that I didn't know that I needed to make until I realized, well, there's another way of being. I don't have to sit with these assumptions.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Amy. This conversation has been just so, I think, eye-opening and like heart-led and just really beautiful. And I know that I've learned so much, and I'm sure that the listeners will too. I've got one more question for you.
Oh, yes.
How does hummus show up in your life?
It shows up regularly in my life. It does. It's actually one of my favorite things to make. So, there's a recipe that I have that I learned from a cookbook that I have here. It's a cookbook in Dutch. I believe he's a food journalist, and he wrote this wonderful cookbook. He comes from Tel Aviv, this guy, and so he brought a lot of the recipes from his hometown into this cookbook, and hummus is one of them.
Nice.
And it's really the old-fashioned, soak the dried chickpeas overnight, and a special way to peel off the skins. And it's just, it takes time, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
it's really great. And I love involving my daughter in it too. She enjoys it as well. So I do make that regularly. Actually, I make that hummus recipe. It's wonderful. It's really a dish. And sometimes we combine it with, you can use it as a base for other things. You can put mushrooms on top of it. Actually, I even, this past Thanksgiving and Christmas, the main dish was hummus with mushrooms.
Oh,
it was wonderful. Oh my goodness. It was great. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I feel like I want to make some hummus later.
Oh yeah, it's quite a nourishing food. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Amy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly. I appreciate you as well. And thank you so much for this work you're doing. I just really want to acknowledge that you take the time to do this, and that you take the time to reach out to all of these incredible people who are coming to speak on your podcast. And wow, just want to take a moment to acknowledge you in that.
Oh, thank you so much. Welcome back. How amazing is Amy? To connect with her, visit her website, coachamy.nl. You can also sign up for free upcoming workshops with Amy via her website /workshops. Connect with Amy on LinkedIn at This Is Peterson. As always, the links will be in the show notes so you can click right in and get right there. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Tune in next time for my interview with Liz Wheeler, founder of Secondhand Stories Chicken Sanctuary. Thanks for listening.